Okay, guys, we are live. It is Friday, and welcome to Blam Academy, Blam TV, and Blam Partners Inner Circle broadcast with the Mind Coach, Mr. David Rahman. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, thank you. Happy Friday, guys. Happy Friday.
And we've got Mr. Edward van der Kleijn, International Sales Director and Sales Genius in the house. How you doing, buddy?
All good, thank you. Yeah, happy days. It's Friday. Looking forward to the weekend. And it's beautiful weather here in the UK.
And because we're all business owners, we haven't got that Friday feeling because we're going to spend all weekend in the garden. We've got that Friday feeling because we know weekends, Saturday strategy, and for me, it's Sunday blogging. So it just gives us a clear head. But we do work like maniacs. Because if you're in business, that's what you got to do, guys. So today I am really looking forward to this session because I do quite a lot of coaching, quite a lot of mentoring with Blam Partners and a few other business owners. And time again, this subject that we are talking about today is very high on the agenda. And it is, of course, overthinking it, because as somebody once said to me, I remember I was on a mastermind group with a bunch of really cool entrepreneurs, and the guy that was running the session said to me, your brain is like a box of frogs jumping all over the place. And our brains are thinking of all these different things, and our job is to try and control all those frogs, stop them from jumping around, because every time they jump, that's us having another thought. And overthinking it is just something we come up against all the time. So I'd be really pleased to get your take on it, David, because, yeah, we've had a brief chat about this, but I'd be interested to see your thoughts on the idea of overthinking it.
For me, I mean, overthinking is we're human, and we just do it, and we just do it continuously. And I think with business owners, one of the greatest things you can ever do is to get your mind clear. So yeah, overthinking, and I've been guilty of it. I think, to be honest, there are so many ways of doing it, and whatever we say today, hopefully you can grab something, guys out there who are listening and watching this later, and perhaps use it to your advantage. But I think the first thing is, like, the analogy I love is, if you imagine your brain to be like Grand Central Station in New York, and there are trains going through it all the time. And these trains are just passing through it. And these are our thoughts. But the question you could ask yourself is, what happens if you try and grab onto a train and it's moving and you're not even on the train? You can get hurt. So the key thing is to ask yourself is, if I could give up my overthinking, if I could stop overthinking, then how would it benefit my business, my career, my relationship? My goals, how would it benefit that? So, Grant, what's your thoughts on overthinking and the benefits to Blam Partners out there?
So I'll give you a bit of context as to how it comes up a lot for business owners that I'm talking to. And in fact, I'm sure Guy won't mind me saying, I did a little bit of a coaching session this morning, and this guy's new to business, relatively new to business, and he'd lost his first client. So the client had cancelled on him and given him a reason that he was going to use somebody else more locally. And so straight away, this guy's thinking, fair enough, I need to deal with this rebuttal. He sends him an email and follows up with a call, and the guy doesn't respond. So straight away, and this is something we would all do, we start overthinking. We start, what have I done wrong? You know, what's going on in this guy's world, what did I do to cause this? Why would he go with somebody local rather than me? What difference does it make these days? And on and on and on and on and on. And all of these reasons and thoughts that are coming to mind could be wildly different from the reality, wildly different. And this is where my advice, which is a lot easier said than done, comes in, is don't overthink it. It's not our job to try and be psychic and worry or try and determine or diagnose what is going on in somebody else's head and the reasons why they don't call you back or they're rude to you or whatever is the reason. It's not our job to actually, try and figure that one out. All we can deal with is the facts. And when we're in business, we're going to get a lot of people that don't want to answer the phone to us, that don't want to have a meeting, that cancel appointments, that cancel your product or service. And our job is not to think about all the reasons why. It's actually to just do the work that we know is going to replace that client and get 5 more. And that was the way. And it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done.
I think I want to add to that. If anybody out there, I want to provide some practical methods. So I'm a big fan of Post-it notes, which I can't find around me at the moment. Mm-hmm. And if you just pop this sentence, you never know what's going on under the surface. So we never know what's going on under the surface of anyone. And as Graham said, it's not our job to try and go on an archaeological dig and dig up why we think they haven't called us. Because what it's going to do is you're going to get emotional about it, because overthinking always leads to us being emotional. We don't want to do that, because in business, you want to be of service, and you're not being of service to your business if you are getting emotional over why somebody didn't perceivably call you. You don't know that their dog has just died. You don't know that their wife has just come through the front door and they haven't seen your call. We just don't know. But what we do is we make up stories, and we're experts at that. So everyone out there, just pop in and post a note. Just never know what's going on under the surface. And when I felt that, I thought, yeah, of course. Who am I to try and be the author of someone else's life and pretend I know what's going on in their life because they haven't emailed me back when I wanted them? Because we all have these wants, our needs. It's all about us. So the key here is focus. And returning back to focus. And as Grant eloquently put it just now, it's like a box of frogs. These thoughts are all over the place. And what we need to do is to realize we are in charge, not the frogs. We have to allow that. And I want to share an acronym with you guys before I forget, because I was thinking about this in the car earlier on. I thought, okay, yeah, why not share this with the guys? So the acronym is THINK, THINK. So when you are feeling all over the place and you're feeling, oh, I'm overthinking, and you know this because you're feeling overwhelmed, lost, angry, sad, critical. You're feeling an emotion, and you've done it again. You've overthought. So T stands for, is it true? So question your thoughts. This is where you take the word think and question your thoughts. Is it true? Is what they said true? Is what I'm thinking true? And if you can't prove it, it's not true. Just let it go. H, is it helpful? So H stands for, is it helpful to me to be trying to second guess why that person hasn't taken my service over somebody local? Or why that girl that I've called hasn't called me back. I don't know why she hasn't called me back. But is it helpful that I'm working myself into an anxious state? I, is it important? Is it that important? Most things that we worry about and overthink aren't important. N stands for, is it needed? Is what I'm thinking needed? Is it necessary? And K is the last one. Last but not least is it kind? Am I being kind to myself? by going over this over and over again. No. So first step, this is off the top of my head, is use the word think, T-H-I-N-K. If I've gone over it too quickly, just go back on the replay of this session. And the second thing is then, if you find yourself in this state of overthinking and you can't focus, because the minute we start to overthink, we can't focus on what we're supposed to be doing, which is calling our clients or working, creating, living our purpose, then the second step is, I always say, take time out. Just go for a walk, clear your head. Because if you sit where you're overthinking, you are what psychologists call, you're anchoring in to that place. And it's become an overthinking environment. So leave it, clear it, leave the energy. If I find myself overthinking or feeling overwhelmed, I've gone for a walk, and it come back. You feel refreshed, and you feel clear. I hope that helps.
I love that. That's all. You can't beat a good acronym, can you?
Says on the slides, eh?
Ed's kindly put it into the feed as well, so that's really helpful. Cool. Nice on Ed.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think overthinking also comes in, and it goes back to when we're doing sales training. It's about asking questions rather than trying to preempt what a customer is worried about. Because oftentimes you'll end up just creating the objection you didn't want in the first place. Yeah.
Definitely. And I think if I could just give a couple of more scenarios, because I think in the experience that I have dealing with entrepreneurs, there's two main ways that I see people overthinking things. So first of all, it's thinking about what other people are thinking of them. So worrying about that and overthinking it and coming up with all sorts of different scenarios about what people think of them. And then thinking about whether they are good enough themselves. And that comes back round to, first of all, how they feel about whether they're good enough, but then how other people think, whether other people think they're good enough. And in my experience, most people spend a lot more time worrying about what other people think of them than themselves. And if I can give you a quick example of, my sort of experience going way back. I remember when I used to be employed, I actually had a job once, believe it or not. I had a proper job. and I was feeling pressure because of my overthinking, my worry of whether I was meeting the expectations of my boss and the role that I was being paid for. And when I became a business owner myself, and a lot of people I've spoken to since this find this quite counterintuitive. I felt under far less pressure when I started my own business and I was the boss than I did when I was employed, because I was no longer worrying about what other people thought of me. Because as my own boss, I kind of felt, well, now it's all my fault and there's nobody that is going to, as I'm the only person that's responsible, there's no, higher authority that is judging me, is the way that I felt. And so I felt under a lot less pressure. Conversely to that, the people that we deal with in Blam, a lot of the time they worry about when they go out and do a presentation, or they pick up the phone to speak to somebody, or they go to a networking event. They worry that the perception from other people is that they're not knowledgeable. We talked about imposter syndrome. They worry about that and they overthink that. They overthink, what other people are thinking about their skills and knowledge and, a professionalism because they're relatively new to it. And that overthinking can stop people from taking action.
100%. And I just wrote a couple of things down. I think when we talk about comparing our lives to others or looking at worry about what other people think about us, I think you've probably seen this before, Grant. Everyone is on their own journey. So if people were to look at their life as, imagine you're in your car, you're driving your car, that's your life, that's your business. But then there's all these other lanes either side of you, and in these other lanes there are other people in their car, otherwise their life. If we spend so much time looking at their car, eventually we're going to crash. And that analogy sticks with me in terms of focus on your own dashboard. Focus on that. And if anybody wants to write on the post-it note, everyone is on their own journey. And something that was instrumental to me, saying, F it. I'm not worried about what other people are doing. I'm going to just do what I do. And you live with more with integrity then, and you feel more alive because, as Graham says, you stop looking at others and judging yourself continuously. And the other thing is, for people out there, self-worth, am I good enough? That's an inside job. That is definitely an inside job. Doesn't matter if you think no one in your office or no one in your business thinks you're good enough. Even though they tell you, it's what you think that matters. So it doesn't matter what they think, it's what you think that matters. So it's critical that the greatest project you work on is yourself and your own mindset. You can do that every morning, and you can look at affirmations. And I wrote just a couple down, such as I am worthy, I am worthy, I am loved, I am free. These are very gentle. These are gentle because I believe we are all worthy, we are all loved, and we are all free. But it's how we feel. So this is where you can instruct your own subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is the storehouse of your memories and your skills. So what I would do is don't look at these affirmations or incantations, whatever you want to call them, power statements, as nonsense. Look at them as a way of reprogramming all the bad stuff that has been put in there over the years by yourself and others and experiences. We can do that. And because our brain is what's called neuroplastic, it can change. It wants to change, but you got to let it. You got to say, I want you to change, and then make that decision. So, and anyone out there not believing in themselves, you can start. You can start, and if you need help, then obviously go to Grant or Ed or myself and just type in the box now if you want help. The other thing is, for people out there, overthinkers, think of someone you know who is not an overthinker, and find out what they do when they get or they are experiencing what you think is your problem. So if they get knocked down or knocked back by a customer or a client, what's their strategy? So find out what they do and copy it. Find out what they do and just listen to the way they think. And they always think in a certain way. And some people might say, it's like water off a duck's back. That could be their trigger for, nope. Some people say, nope, I don't stand for any of that nonsense. Some people say, no, I mean, next, please. Next, please. They pick up the phone, next, please, rejection, next, please. So they don't think about it. Whereas you might be saying, oh my God, I've just been rejected. Oh my God, was it my voice? Was it something I said? And you're overanalyzing. So I hope that helps everyone out there, those practical tips.
That's awesome. It reminds me of something that I said to somebody this week, actually, and it's kind of related to this subject because, when you've got, you need to speak to somebody, but it's a difficult conversation and you procrastinate on making that call because you overthink all the different scenarios that are going to happen and you play them through in your head. And all the time you're doing this, you're putting off something that's actually quite an important thing to do. And this can go on for ages. And I've been guilty of this myself many times, so many times where, and then when you actually make the call or you have the chat, it's never as bad as all those different ways that you've thought it through in your head. And this came up with somebody this week, and I remember, and what I said to them was something that somebody said to me many years ago. That's, you know, when somebody says something that's kind of almost life changing, and it was, your success is equal to the number of difficult conversations you're willing to have. And I think that we all have to have difficult conversations with people, but we find ways of avoiding them, because the box of frogs comes up with all these different scenarios that it's rarely as bad as we imagine. Rarely as bad as you imagine. But having those difficult conversations, in my experience, what I've found out is a conversation that you thought was difficult is actually not difficult at all. It's only what we were imagining it to be. And I just remember that all the time. There's another favorite of mine, Grant Cardone. I'm a big fan of Grant Cardone. And one of the main reasons that I'm so endeared towards him is because I don't think he even goes as far to say he underthinks stuff. I don't know about overthinking, to the extent, I mean, this guy's getting on from being a billionaire. He's never done a business plan in his life. He's like, why would I waste time thinking about a business plan when I can just get on and do it? And he always says, if you've got, and he talks about a lot about cold calling and about running a business and 10xing. And he'll literally say, if you've got to call somebody, just call them. Don't think about what they're going to, how you're going to answer the phone, how you're going to, just dial, just do it. And you will get results.
Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant stuff, Ron. And I was just thinking about the energy that we all have an energy. And, you know, when you're with someone and they've got good energy, you love being with them. You know, you like having a drink with them or a coffee, and, you know, and you like hanging out with them. And conversely, if you don't like them, if they've got a negative energy, you just feel freaking drained. So can you imagine that you've worked yourself up into a state to call this person? And as Grant says, you think of all these scenarios like, and, you know, you've gone through the scenarios, and then you put it off, and then you call them in the evening, and you're a wreck when you call them, you know, you're not, and they can feel your energy. So there's two things going to happen. The call can go really well, better than you ever thought, as Grant said, because, you know, we've all been there where we said, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. And the other thing is, the call can go not so well because you weren't yourself, because you just put yourself in that an anxious state and you didn't come out with what you said. So I always say that, you know, exactly what Ram says, and, you know, underthinking is really good. It is good, because if we start to underthink, we can then perhaps take the overthinking on this. This is underthinking, this is overthinking, bring it to the middle. So we can bring it to the middle. But I want to introduce one thing before we finish. We often spend time there thinking, and this is our feeling. But then there's this gut feeling down here, which is so important. And if anybody out there is watching this, if you can tune in with your gut feeling and center with it, and you can, I probably guessed I'm big into energy, because that's what we are. So if we think about, when we put ourselves in a centered position, which is where we feel centered, our thoughts become empty. And to do that, you can actually center yourself quite quickly with 3 questions. The first question is, you can do this any time of the day and multiple times an hour. I do this. First question is, who am I? Where am I? And what am I doing next? Immediately, it gets you back in the moment. You're not in the past. You're not in the future. You're not thinking about the call. Who am I? So who am I, David? Where am I?
Have you been checked for dementia yet, David? Who am I? Where am I?
Can you imagine your wife here and you say that?
as he's cycling down the motorway.
Yeah. Who am I? Well, and the men in white suits come in and take you away.
Is that when somebody usually says you're in my garden, mate?
Yeah, you're in my garden. What are you doing in my swimming pool? Huh?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. That's so. If I'm going to be serious for a second here. Three questions gets you back in the moment, and it stops those trains going through the train station. It sort of quietens those frogs down, and suddenly you think, okay, yeah, I'm back here. Because every time we overthink, we do two things: we go to the past, what happened, or we go to the future, what we think is going to happen, and that is the opposite of what you want. Because when you get onto that call with your customer, you want to be present. You just want to be focused on them, not on getting the contract off them or their business. You want to be focused on their needs. You can't do that if you're focused on, oh my God, this could be a $5,000 deal for me. Oh my God, you're not listening to what they're saying. So yeah, go a bit mad and ask yourself, who am I? Where am I? And what am I doing next?
I think you need to caveat that with David. Is if you do find yourself in somebody else's swimming pool when you ask those questions,
Yeah,
go and see a doctor.
yeah.
That's it. You need some professional help.
I gotta say, I love these conversations. I love them. I can't wait for us to go for a night out. They're going to be great.
Absolutely. Go and have a barbecue on the beach in Penarth.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Good, man.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
Well,
Great stuff. Yeah.
Sorry, Ed, go on.
Yeah, no. For the overthinking again, I mean, sometimes, and I've had to really learn this. Because you haven't really figured out where you want to go yet. So everything that you're doing has a purpose, as opposed to, you don't really understand why you're doing what you're doing. And that's where the distraction comes in. If you've got a purpose and you're on your way, that's it. I mean, what's the saying is that, a busy dog has no fleas or something like that. Because he probably has fleas, but it doesn't realize that you have them. So you're just on your way, and then I think that's where it creeps in. And everything we've talked about up till now, procrastination, this uncertainty, suddenly then all these other thoughts come in. And if you just get on with being busy and doing and going where you're going, figure that out. I think is a big thing. So that's where we go on about goal setting and making a plan for the day, because that's what you're doing. That's what you're going to be doing. Nothing else to think about.
I think as well, just for the audience, and hopefully most people watching this are going to be, entrepreneurs, small business owners mainly. We've all worked with people who are small business owners, medium-sized business owners, and then David in particular works with really successful CEOs and people in all different walks of life, and we all struggle with overthinking. It's not reserved just for people who are new to business, or it's not something that is that's necessarily something you get rid of when you become perceived to be more successful. It's something that everybody struggles with, and I think finding your own confidence and dealing with your own ego is a lot of it, which is something I know you talked about in the past, David, is it's becoming comfortable with yourself and confident with your own abilities and space. And it isn't always something that is a given that you're going to be able to control, but being aware of it, being aware that overthinking is something that we all struggle with. I don't know whether it's the same for you guys, but for me, when I overthink things, I don't beat myself up too much, because I know we all struggle with it, no matter who we are. And even right up to the very top echelons of of business people. They all suffer from it to a certain extent.
Yeah, that's
none of us got a crystal ball.
I think it's if people are watching this, they can just trust themselves, you know, and just believe in themselves. Because here's a question, actually. Look back at the stuff that you've overthought in the past, where you've just sat there and just overthought, and what percentage of it wasn't true? And that will just give you an indicator how illogical we are as a race of beings. But there you go.
Brilliant. Well, good session today, guys. Love this subject. I think we can all relate to it. I know I certainly can. So really, and I've written down think, true, helpful, important, needed, kind. Love that. Awesome. Brilliant.
Awesome, great session. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
As we wrap up, there will be a recording available as well. Good to see you wherever you're watching this, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Cheers. Take care. Have a great weekend.